This week we start the fifth and final book of Moses, the Chumash called Devarim. And from the very onset, we see something very peculiar. It begins with Elu Hadvarim. These are the words that Moses said. Now that's something that we never had in the first four books. It's always when God told Moses, tell the Jewish people. And yet here it clearly speaks as Moses is the one talking, and it's the words of Moses rather than the words of God. So from one perspective, this book seems to be a descent in its spirituality. It's no more God talking directly through the mouthpiece, the voice box of Moses, but rather that these are the words of Moses. And what we are taught is that while it may seem as a descent in spirituality, it is actually an ascent in the purpose of creation and the desire of God. Because God's desire is not that it should be a spirituality imposed upon us, but rather one that we internalize from the inside out. And thus, by having it descend from God's voice through Moses' voice box into the words of Moses, which will eventually then develop and evolve into even lesser prophecy of the future prophets, and then the lesser spirituality, so to speak, of the sages, until you and I are physically struggling with our physical human perception to find God and to understand God. And so it is in this time of the year where we are entering into mourning the destruction and exile. From one hand, it seems to be a total descent. And yet, on the other hand, when we had the Holy Temple and we saw the open miracles of God, for example, the pillar of smoke going up from the outside altar, not being swayed by the winds of Jerusalem, that was an imposition, not from the inside out, but we could not deny the miracles. And yet here in exile, when we don't openly see the miracles, but from the inside out, we struggle to be spiritual people, finding faith, finding understanding, finding Judaism. That, my dear friends, is the fulfillment of God's desire. And may it be that the fulfillment truly happen, and we have Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our days returning